A brand new demo has been released, and it is a little addicting. So the other day I received an email from the team behind the game Uppercute, and they were seeing if I would be interested in trying out the demo for their game. And it looked cool, so I decided to go check it out. Now, Uppercute is a platform runner, and it has you taking control of the character Uppercute, and with the team up between Uppercute and her sister Hyper, they are essentially going into the minds of other people. Now, after reading stuff on the Steam page for the game, it's discovered that the two sisters are actually trying to solve this mysterious disappearance behind their missing brother. Now, in the demo, it sadly doesn't touch a whole lot on the story. We get no information on the brother. I don't even know if we get a name, but we do get a touch on that they're jumping from mind to mind, and it's not very legal. So the demo, it doesn't really touch on the story, but there does seem to be a very enriching thriller type story from the feel of it. So that has piqued my interest, and that combined with the gameplay has it already on my radar for the full release. Now this is a 3D platformer, so you have to jump and maneuver your way around 3D platforms in the air, different structures to jump on, and your main goal is to get from the starting point to the ending point. Now, in order to get there, you have to actually unlock this ending point, and to do that, you collect orbs that are scattered around the map. Now, orbs can be traditionally on the path that will lead you to the ending goal, but sometimes they're scattered a bit out of the way, so you're gonna have to figure out your best pathing in order to get to the ending point the fastest. Now, just doing that isn't enough. You need a little bit more, and that is when some enemies come in. Now, the most basic enemies are just there for you to punch a few times and get an extra orb in order to unlock that ending point. Now, enemies are actually very versatile for you. You can punch them, and if you repeatedly attack them and you're in the air, you remain elevated in the air. Now, of course, once you stop attacking them, you begin to descend, and you should pray that there is a platform beneath you. And if you need a little extra height and there's an enemy around, you can actually ground slam attack on top of them and use them like a trampoline to get to higher elevated positions. Now, do beware if you do this and you miss and end up back on the ground, enemies do not seem to respawn unless you restart the round. So if you miss a jump, you're better off hitting tab and restarting the whole level. Now, each time you do restart the level, it does give you any type of tutorial or story bits that are in the front. So I'm kind of hoping in the full game, once you're out of the tutorial section, or maybe they add it in that, you can skip it because it's just a little bit tedious. But yeah, the basic enemies are actually very versatile and should be used to your advantage. They also don't attack you. The only reason that you would take damage is if you would run into them, and it's nearly impossible unless you accidentally screw up an input. Now, when you get a bit further into the tutorial section and into the real levels, there will be enemies that can attack you. Now, most of the time that is firing some kind of projectile at you, and that's decently easy to dodge. Now, you can still go, punch them, bounce on them, whatever you need to do. So overall, not a huge threat, not a huge worry. Now, the issues come whenever there's shielding around them. Now, there will be times later on in the game to where they do have a shield and are connected to one another via some cords. And this, you can't go and attack them if there's a shield on them. It won't do anything. So you gotta find the root cause of the connection that doesn't have any kind of barrier, and you gotta destroy that first. And then you can destroy everything else. Now, because just going around punching and jumping on things wouldn't be super fun, the game also has some upgrades that you can get, and you get them by destroying special enemies. Now, they're the same enemies as before, but they have a little signal sign above their head to show that if you defeat them, you can get a power-up. Now, most of the power-ups seem to last for 3 rounds of usage, and they can be anything from you punch through something and it goes through an entire health bar. Some enemies have single hit, single kill, and others have a health bar to where you have to punch them multiple times. So this essentially turns everything into a one-hit kill enemy. Others have an amazing uppercut move that lets you get some elevation when you hit an enemy. So essentially just a nice variation of the ground pound slam into a trampoline move. And hopefully with the release of the full game, there will be several others because these moves are actually quite fun. And because they are limited, you do have to make sure that you're not just using them willy-nilly and you are using them for a purpose. So essentially your goal is to get point A to point B, destroy as many enemies as you can in your way, because that's going to be pretty simple. Make sure that you go through and touch every single thing, because there will be structures such as glass flooring that you can ground pound slam and get some dots for. Now, on your way from point A to point B, there will also be some other ways to get some orbs, and that can include random objects such as panels on the floor that you can ground pound slam into. And also there will be literal hoops that you can jump through, and that will send you from one platform to another. And this game is just full of different ways to get around. Now, once you get to the end of the level, you can move on to any level. You don't have to get a certain time or anything to progress in the story, at least the part that the demo covers, you don't need to. But you will be graded. Now, this game has a heavy focus on speedrunning. And at the end of each level, you'll get graded from a D to an S rank, depending on how fast you were. I'm not actually sure if the amount of orbs you collect count towards it. It doesn't seem to. You just need to hit that minimum amount of orbs to activate the ending. So because there's a focus on speedrunning, none of the levels seemed excessively long. So that makes it easy to try again, to try and figure out what is a better path. Can you clean up anything? And overall, it just tests your knowledge and your reaction time and your awareness. This game gives me the same feeling as other games such as Neon White, to where you need to get objectives done in order to get to the end. So if you're a fan of those types of games, maybe give this one a try. Now, earning an S is not going to be easy. You can't just go straight towards the end because you're not gonna make it. You need to really think and figure out what the best path truly is in order to get the most orbs in the shortest amount of time. And don't forget, if you screw up a single jump off of an enemy, you don't get the enemy back, so you're gonna have to restart. This game does not seem to be for the weak of heart if you are someone who loves to go for an S rank. They're not easy to get, and a lot of the times you might come close, but you're still gonna end up in the A range. You need to be precise and purposeful and make sure that you have the most optimized route. But this does mean that there's a lot of replayability in these games, just because you're going to be replaying each level in order to get that S. This game is a thrilling runner, and I'm very excited for the full release. You might not know this about me, but I actually really like speedrunning, simple stuff like this, and I love 3D platformers. They're one of my favorite genres, so this kind of mixes two really good genres for me. Now, this game is very eye-catching. The cyberpunk-like futuristic aesthetics, the bright colors, and everything just makes it a joy to look at, and the controls are smooth and fluid, and overall it is simply just a joy to play. Now, it is kind of saddening that in the demo we don't really touch on any of the story except to acknowledge that we jump into the minds of others without their knowledge, and that it's not a very fondly thought of practice. But that just seems to be the tip of the iceberg, well, from how the demo ends and what information you can get from the Steam page. So overall, I'm very excited to check out the full game, and I will leave links to the demo so that you guys can check it out in the description below. So if this game seems at all interesting to you, do let me know if you want to check it out, or if you did decide to check out the demo. I would love to know. And if you liked my video and you think I did a good job, go ahead and give me a thumbs up to let me know. And if you want to go the extra mile, go ahead and hit subscribe so you don't lose me in the sea of YouTube content. And with that, that's going to be the end of everything. And I thank everyone who watched, and I hope to see you again in a future video. Bye guys!